Welcome back to the program here on Business Daily. Now, before the break, I said we'll take a look at some issues that have been happening. But before that, let's delve into some of our top stories with our guest in the studio this morning, Dr.Aliyu Ilias. Thank you for joining us, as always, on Business Daily this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I know that you're very well versed with the customs tariffs. So now I'm going to say this in a jokingly and layman terms. So it's like they added the 1% plus the 7% divided by 2 and came to the 4% for the FOB and said, we're just going to do 4%, no more 7% this, 1% this. Now, what's your take on that story generally?
Right, on the fact that, by January, we said the Nigerian Revenue Service will be collecting all the revenue. So I'm thinking maybe they are planning for that one. In addition to that, when you say FOB simply means free on board. And free on board only apply to sea and inland waterways. But no matter what, we are choked with the custom tariff already. If you buy anything from any country, bringing it to Nigeria, the cost of buying that thing is not a problem, but the cost of custom clearance, which is a serious issue. So for me,
I remember you talked about it last time on the program.
Exactly.
The supply chain
issues. And the bottleneck majorly is from the Nigerian custom. And that transfer to why we have things very expensive in Nigeria. I can tell you, even the economy have discouraged people from importation. What we do more is much more of export because of devaluation of Naira. It's easy for you to actually export, but importing now is quite discouraging. And if you go and check it, it's a serious issue now, even though they have also opened door for some agricultural produce that Buhari regime have been able to actually create some level of self-sufficiency. So for me, I think whatever custom is doing, they should be careful of continuous increase in tariff, in custom exercise duties. You recall that we are paying more virtually for everything. The purchasing power of Nigeria has been reduced. So if you now improve that more, you are discouraging people from importation, and you cannot survive only you without having importation. So importation is key, but we must not be, actually have problem in terms of importing into Nigeria. Because I can give you a critical example. Before now, if you want to buy a small Toyota Corolla, or you want to bring a container to Nigeria, your problem will not be how much, to clear it. It will be how much to import. But now, clearing is the major issue now, and that's why customs must also look at that area and reduce the tariff at what level. Okay,
so we see that. Although yesterday on the program, I read a story about NSW, single working thing that's supposed to take effect from Q1 of next year, supposing to help import and exporting become easier for Nigerians.
Right. Even if I'm to advise, even beyond the way we actually, why not open other ports? Port Harcourt, Calabar. If you need more revenue, you must not stay in Lagos only and say you will continue to get more. Why not open more? We can have Calabar, we can have Onne, we can have Rivers. There are other places that you can, so that you will decentralize and make more money.
So the question will be, away from the ports and maybe the lifestyle and social lifestyle of Lagos, if you take away the ports, will the Lagos still be our commercial capital?
No, you are not reducing Lagos, and you're not reducing the transaction in Lagos. You're only expanding. So instead of you trying to generate more revenue within Lagos, you are now generating more revenue through another expansion. It's good for custom, it's good for Nigeria economy, and it's also good for more income for Nigeria. It does not affect Lagos at all.
Okay, let's look at the other story there on the BRICS alignment tariff hike. We've seen it, we decided to join BRICS. We've been trying to join BRICS for a while.
Are we part of BRICS?
Well, we've joined BRICS, according to the stories.
Not fully. Okay. BRICS know their members.
Partially, one leg in, one leg out.
Yes.
Apparently, we're claiming BRICS membership now.
Right.
And we've seen that Trump administration isn't taking too kindly to that alignment and saying, okay, 50% tariff hike. However, the LCCI is really not supporting it. What's your take generally?
I was supposed to be part of that freight conference of LCCI. I was invited, but, a lot of things. However, when you talk about BRICS, I expect Trump to do more. Yes, because Nigeria needs to get it right and stand for something. You have to choose. Do you want to do business with America? You want to do business with China. You want to also be rubbing mind with Russia. It's not bad, but position is key. So in a place whereby majority of your thing is tied to US will come and sanction you. Remember, the trade war has started. You know, Trump said he sanctioned everybody. They should come and negotiate. At the point of that negotiation, it has not even reached BRICS have meeting. Is in Brazil, and therein Trump is saying that every country that is attending that meeting, there should be much more, and there should be 10% additional tax immediately that tariff. Thank you that day. That simply shows that Trump doesn't want a rival, and I can tell you, it appeared that China is doing everything to displace them, and not only China now, it's BRICS. And for me, if you even ask me, I would prefer we deal with BRICS more because you know, most of our buyers, Indian, you know, they buy a lot of crude oil from us. You know, China, we do, you know, in fact, they're the largest trading partner in terms of country, you know, now. So if you look at it now, it's better and they have more. But everything about US come with conditionalities. Recall, they have what we call Bretton Woods institution, which is IMF and the World Bank. And they are also holding us the jugular when it talks of the economy. Remember, they would be the one to predict what will happen to us, what is happening.
But do we necessarily...
And they will also give you money and tell you where to spend the money.
No, so that's the thing. Do we necessarily... Because if I recall again, when we go back to the 1980s, the reason why our currency is facing this drama is because they told us you have to devalue your money for you to be able to do this, do that. If I remember, I wasn't born there yet, but you know, that's the story. That's what we've been told. That's what they, and it seems like we keep listening to them and we're not making impact. Isn't it time to not listen to them?
Well, the fact is that you cannot do without listening to them, because a lot of things is tied to them until we are able to, you know, separate ourselves. But the problem is that there are some things we need to do internally that we have not been able to do since 1980 up till now. What we are supposed to do, we are supposed to increase our production. You know, when you increase your production, look at South Africa. They are doing well. They are well industrialized. So they can actually decide who we want to align with. You recall that South Africa has been in BRICS.
Yes, the major...
And they don't care about what happens the other way around. So until we now work on our economy, just like what we are seeing in GDP and a lot of things. So we must work on our macro economy that will attract the necessary economic absorber, so that we can be able to say, okay, let me deal with this. Perhaps, I think dealing with China, actually, for me, it's much more, because an average Igbo man goes to China to buy more than America. So if we can, recall, even during President Muhammadu Buhari, though he does not have the political will to implement it, he talks about Naira swap. Remember Naira swap? And we are so happy that, yes, you deal with yuan. So people will now buy in what? But up till now, we don't know what's actually happening. So until we are able to actually, you know, work on our economy domestically, you know, and now that it is quite favorable somehow now that Nigerians are not even importing more, we are exporting more. We have to expand that exportation so that we can have what is called, okay, I think we are having balance of payment now, but balance of trade. We need to also do more in that area. So when you do more in those areas, now you have that confidence that, okay, this economy can actually work without you borrowing. You know, because yesterday they still approve some loans. So those are the things.
Some dollars and some
exactly. And it's meant for, I think, capital project and some human resource related things. So until we are able to actually say, no, we have growth up to this level, and we also have comparative advantage, because, you know, until we have Dangote coming, we are only operating a rentier oil sector, or not real oil sector.
Yeah, where we
are not doing any value addition.
Yes, you export to import back.
Right, so it's a serious one.
Okay, we've gone into the conversation already, but let's get to our focus of the topic today, which is still looking at the GDP rebasing and the MPR rate. So before we get to the electricity story and all that, what do you think or take? Because I'm seeing this story now from Wale Edun, where he's saying that we're doing better at 3.31% with the current GDP rebasing, and opposed to 2.4% compared to last year. However, the last year's parameters were different from this year's parameters, if I recall, because it was the former rebasing or parameters they used to get those numbers, and this is the new number now. So would it be fair to say we could have weighed our options based on the old numbers to see if we're actually really doing well, or weigh the last year's own based on the new parameters to see if there's actually an improvement?
I'm afraid if Nigeria is not toiling the way of relying on cosmetic economy rather than the real economy. Now, take it, it's a good positive one for GDP.
On paper.
No, even generally, the indicators, the statistics, the metrics, you know,
Okay.
it's good one for us, but what do we use it for?
Okay.
And how do we go? Now, what does GDP actually do is give you the true representation of your economy. So the global community, now, I think we are number 40 now in terms of economy globally. Then Africa, maybe we are doing number 4 now. That has shown the status. And the expository part of it is where we get to know that we are bringing much more economic sector into it. You know, we are bringing digital economy, we are bringing creative economy, we are bringing query. Is it quarry or query?
Quarry.
We're also bringing mining. You know, we are looking at waterways. So it has exposed where we are doing well and where we are doing bad. It also exposed that we are relying on service sector, which is not beneficial compared to other sectors. You know, service sector is much more of portfolio investment. Okay, there is this, they bring the money, they quickly operate, then they go. It doesn't really bring the normal fiscal thing as expected. Then the GDP also GDP rebasing also exposed something. As a businessman, as an investor, it has also exposed Nigeria. GDP per capita for a Nigerian is maybe $1,000, right? But in South Africa, it's $5,000.
Okay, break that down.
So now, what I'm trying to say is that if you divide the GDP by the population in Nigeria, it will give you what is per person.
Okay.
So by so doing now, you now have per capita to me is $1,000. Now, in South Africa, per one person, their GDP is 5,000. What does that simply mean?
It's not a case of number, population number.
It's not, no, it's the capacity of your output. GDP is about output and income, and it has 4 components. Let's look at it. Household output. You know, you look at government consumption. Household consumption and government consumption, you know. You also look at investment, as it were, that is actually coming. So if you look at all these things, it simply means, you know, it's only household that only deal with poverty. And poverty, does the GDP tell you are better? No, it does not tell. It's only something different. So if you look at it generally, right, it simply means that it shows a businessman that this country, is it a country I should invest to? Do they have purchasing power? Do they have the money? Do they have what have you to actually, you know? And this GDP does not even show the true Nigeria economy again. How? Ordinarily, GDP should, how do I put it? Nigeria is the largest economy in Nigeria, in Africa, in any size you can put it.
Okay.
But there's what is called deflator. Okay. Do you know the deflator? Our GDP is 3 size of what we declare, of what is declared. Because there's international standard for calculation. Okay. Do you know what the international standard of calculation did? It deflates our capacity. You know why? It is at $1,530 per dollar.
Oh, okay.
So if it's 500, if it is 500,
then we should be seeing about.
We will triple where we are. No African country will even come close because we have, do you know we have purchasing power in Africa? Which country can buy the way we can buy? No. Which country have the consumption capacity? No. Which company can actually, you know, the population? So we have a lot of benefit, but until we solve the major cankerworm, which is forex, and it's affecting everything. So for me, GDP, yes, it has reflects where we are now, but it does not disclose our standard of living. It is a 2 different thing. So you could have a very beautiful GDP, but your citizens are still not where they're supposed to be in terms of consumption.
Okay. So now, the rebasing.
Right.
I get that you makes it look better and whatnot, but first of all, is it the right time for it? Let's start from there.
Right.
And how can we actually make it now become reality?
Well, I think it's the right time. Or it should have come earlier rather.
Okay.
Now, the last rebasing was 2014. And we rebased back to 2010. So this one is we are rebasing at 2025. And we are rebasing back to 2019. And what's the reason? The reason is that 2019 is the best year you could use.
Okay, before 2020 and the pandemic.
Because up to now we are still not.
Yes,
so you cannot use them as a good base.
Okay.
But 2019 was perfect. You know, everything was before we now have COVID 19, COVID 20, and all what have you. So it's the best thing. Ideally, you're supposed to rebase every 5 years, so that to show the true standard status of the economy. Then you ask, does it have advantage? Yes. For now, it will help our policy direction.
Okay.
The policy makers will now know that, oh, this sector is actually not doing well. We have to upgrade it because it's giving us more money. You know, it has reflected to us now that if you spend more money in mining, in this and that, they can actually change the narrative. Because, like I said, forest cannot change. It's normal. Do you know now we have real estate? You know, it was not used to be there very well because household, people that are building house in everywhere, you are not calculating it, you are not putting it, but now you see the reason why you put. Then it also have advantage to the government. Nigeria can now go and borrow more.
Really?
Yes, that is the capacity. That's what it shows. Because you now have debt to GDP, the gap is high. It now shows that you can now go and borrow more. Do you get? It gives you more. Then it also reveals tax to GDP. Now, federal government will now say, oh, we're not even generating anything. No. We need to do more to generate more. And that's why the tinubu tax reform is going to reflect. It's going to be a better one for us by January. And I think I'm proposing, or I'm thinking, by December, January, February, Nigeria economy will seem much more stable. Okay. And that will give them impetus to say, yes, Nigeria economy is at it again. Then, you know, a lot of political calculation will now start coming again, in.
Yes.
So,
so
for me, if you ask me, I think it's a well-calculated, you know, that's why the GDP also come late, you know. We have been waiting for GDP rebase. You know, we have been expecting, and so I think Nigeria will smile, but not reliable.
So basically, if I understand what you're saying, we could say it was mostly a political move to do this at this time?
I would say it's political, but there is political economy in economy itself. It's a branch of economy itself.
Okay. So now the MPC or the M have decided to retain rates all across. Was this what you were expecting?
Well, I don't expect them to increase, to reduce or to increase, and because of the metrics that we have on ground. So if you look at it now, even though some of us are hearing that we should bring down the MPR from 27.5 so that small businesses, MSMEs, you know, manufacturer can actually, you know, try to move more.
The bulk of our economy.
Bulk of our economy. Because if a manufacturer cannot get money, cannot borrow money, or is borrowing money at 30%, you know, you borrow 100 million, you have to pay 30 million, you know, within such period. You know, you have to calculate what business will you do that would have yield. And that's why on this Your Beautiful Show, I always say that government is trading off growth for inflation, you know, which for me, you have to carry the two. In as much as you want a reduce, or you are targeting 15%, is that what Tinubu is targeting? 15% inflation rate. That's what they are proposing with 1 trillion, with 1 trillion economy. Yes. So we must also consider those indicators that will bring those things to bear. So in doing that, you must consider that MPR needs to actually come down. But coming down again, you have to look at the level of what of forex, because if you also bring it down, you know, forex has not shown us a good sign yet. It's only stable. You know, it's stable now, but we want it to reduce at least to 1,000, 1,002. Then people can now say, okay, let's do business, let's import, and let's do what have you. So by and large, I think it's a good one that they retain it at that level.
Now let's look at worst case scenario if they were going to reduce the MPR rate. What will we expect to see?
Well, if they are going to reduce, it depends on, is it minus 500 plus 500? Depends on the calculation.
Plus 100.
Plus, it depends on the calculation now. So for me, you know, it depends on their voting too. So for some of us committee like this may not have opportunity to sit in that table, but we may have advice to some of them. The thing is, they may just remove maybe 0.5. So that's it will now be 27%. Then it will be. Then they will see how the economy will react.
I'm even asking, if they reduce it to say they take out 1.5 and make it 26, what will be that impact
on the economy?
The
inflation is a problem. You know, this government believes that there is more money in the economy. And that's what's bringing about inflation. So once you reduce MPR, people will go again. There will be more. So there is a need to control the size of money in the circulation.
Okay, now we're seeing what's going on, and my guest yesterday was talking about incentives that could be given to certain people like agriculture in terms of this situation. Maybe they won't need to have to be paying 27.5 interest rates, and all that. But away from just agricultural people, as we keep talking about the SMEs, they are one of, if not 40% of the economy. They bring so much to the economy, to this country. They help this country grow. How will this and how can they flourish in this high interest rate environment?
Well, government needs to be intentional. That's number one. Then, it's only in Nigeria that we say you float your naira 100%. There is no way you float your currency 100%. You must find a way to balance it. Then in terms of agriculture, we have Bank of Industry, we have Bank of Agriculture. You recall, even during Emefiele, these are the things we should look at. Everybody have their good side and the other side. During Emefiele, remember there is what we call anchor borrower. So anchor borrower came to solve a lot of problems. You can see then we are almost rice self-sufficient because we can actually feed. It's because there's a direct intervention to support them. So until government look at it strategically, that okay, the major problem of Nigeria is energy problem, right? So in doing energy problem, work on the supply chain. Now all the farmers now provide them means of transporting their item from Kebbi, Sokoto, Zamfara, Benue down to because it is because of the cost of transportation that's causing this problem. Yes. So we must work around that, and government must decipher different means. They have tried to do CNG, but it appears that Nigeria need more actions. More, it must not come at that slow rate. It appears to be slow and is not reflecting. And that's why I said maybe by January, maybe all their effort in CNG, all their effort in policy, all the effort in using tax reform would have maybe be yielding. But for now, it is not yielding. And I should also clarify the GDP. That you have a good GDP does not mean Nigeria now better in terms of poverty rate. No, until it translates to more purchasing power for people.
All right. You've already taken us to our next conversation, which is the electricity situation and the electricity bill currently in the National Assembly. Now, let's just take a look on what that whole thing is about. Now, the Nigerian Senate is advancing the Electricity Act, the Amendment Bill 2025, which is aimed at addressing sectoral collapse and regulatory gaps in the post-2023 Electoral Act era. The bill passed second reading in July, with key sponsors citing the urgent need to clarify regulatory roles, combat rampant vandalism, and resolve inconsistencies between federal and state frameworks. Now, what are the key provisions and impacts for businesses? Stronger anti-vandalism measures, and we see these things coming up, although mostly for the telco, of which I don't know if you'll be getting messages. NCC keeps sending messages, do not vandalize telco companies. I keep getting like every other day, and I think maybe they're saying the same thing too for the energy on the power sector as well. Now, criminal penalties for sabotage may reduce infrastructure disruptions and unplanned outages. We see that sometimes you hear these things happen in some parts of the country. In the upper north areas, we've had to read some of the stories on the news where they don't have light because someone went to transformer and did something to it. So stiffer sanctions on them. Now, regulatory clarity. The amendment seeks to define the transition of power from NERC NERC to state regulators, reducing legal uncertainty for businesses operating across states. Now, Power Consumer Assistance Fund, PCAF, overhaul. The bill mandates mandatory tariff contributions to PCAF, potentially shifting over 5 trillion naira in unpaid subsidies onto consumers. That may increase business electricity bills significantly. This one touched me. It's that part of the conversation. So basically, now the government is owing quite a lot in subsidies, and one of these things I've just said, the Power Consumer Assistance Fund, if this is passed, will somehow transfer the burden of that debt to us consumers who will now have to pay, meaning that probably tariffs are going to go higher again.
Well, Right from onset, for me, I see the ongoing tariff increase as a continuous activity that this government will likely embark on. But I must say this on the background that in any economy that wants to grow must make sure that they treat energy as a very important thing to manage very well. In fact, it is expected that you create subsidy in energy to grow the economy because it's the backbone of the economy itself. So if you don't have that energy plan, it's going to be a problem. So for me, government must do all what they can. I'm happy they have unbundled it. I think that's the first thing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did. He actually unbundled electricity. But we have not seen any major investment in that area. And I must call on those states. You know, states have responsibility more. You cannot be expecting an investor to come and invest in your electricity without you first and foremost invest considerably into it. You must start it. So I want to see whereby state will be generating electricity, transmitting electricity, and distributing electricity.
That's what this new amendment bill is supposed to get them to do.
Yes.
Now, let me look at some of the risks and concerns according to this. It says that the cost burdens on businesses, now because of the PCAF surcharge, could translate into much higher utility cost for SMEs and large enterprises. Now, concerns from state electricity commissioners suggest the bill may erode gains from decentralization and undermine investor confidence.
Correct.
So basically, if they do this now, the states might not necessarily...
You might see what is happening in Enugu now. The Enugu governor, through Enugu electricity, is trying to reduce the tariff. Have you seen the response of federal government? Have you taken note? Federal government is telling him that no subsidy. If you are reducing it, that means you are going to pay subsidy on that. That simply means that we should be ready to pay more for electricity. You know, and like I said, if we can actually demarcate it appropriately, you know, when you say band A, who are supposed to use band A? Is it industry or the general public?
So that too, yes, because
so these are the things we have to look at, because band A itself, it's go up a lot. So if you're a business person, you know, we know how much you pay monthly in our offices.
So imagine if you live in a band A environment and your business is in a band A environment, so you're now paying quite a lot of money, because prior to the band A's, the money used to be 1,000 naira could get you 16 units.
Right.
But now 1,000 naira gets you just 4 units, 40 or so. Basically, that's what it is.
But that's what some of us are suffering. Band A at home, band A in office, and you don't have. But we're happy that solar is there. You can actually switch it off at home and make sure you enjoy.
The situation might prompt the moving over to other forms of energy.
In an advanced country, when you reduce burden on federal government, they still come and compensate you in some other client. So when they see that, yes, you are out of the national grid and you are reducing it, they will say, take compensation.
So basically you're saying that it would be more ideal for most people to come off the grid, go off grid.
Well, the thing is, there's nothing you can compare to electricity. That is, how do you call it now? The normal electricity generated, you understand, compared to solar. There's something solar cannot do, or you need much more solar to get what electricity could do for you. So let's not even looking at solar as alternative. Let's look at making the electricity actually function. Because how many MSME, how many small business will go and get that level? If you have passed through Mabuchi, you will see the level at which is the Ministry of Works sets the solar panel. How many businesses can actually afford that, even not for federal government?
Okay, now let's hone into the Enugu situation.
Right.
Let's talk about that. Now, the Enugu State Regulatory Commission has announced a reduction in the band A tariff from 209 to 160 and is effective from August 1. Now, of course, however, the B, C, D, and E tariffs remain the same, no change. But why the court? According to the Enugu ERC, it conducted a rigorous cost assessment using tariff methodology and modeling, concluding the average cost reflective rate is around 94 naira per kilowatt. With federal power generation subsidies covering 45 kilowatts of the actual 112 cost, Enugu can now afford to lower band A customers to 160 and still maintain cost recovery. That's why they did what they did. Now, if they've done that methodology and it's come to that conversation, that is guess about 49 naira off the usual 209. That's one. Two, they're still going to make some interest, because if it's 112, right, and then plus the government 45 or so, they're still making some sort of interest at 157, about 3 naira or so extra coming to them, right? So why is, according to what you said, the federal government fighting this?
It will be interesting to see the methodology. In fact, I'll take it personal to go and see how they actually come down to that level.
Yes.
Most of us always complain about this coast, that they don't actually have investment. They don't bring anything to the investment, to electricity, but they are taking out from it. And now they are saying that people are actually owing them so much. So if Enugu can come up with such, because my fear for them, I must tell you, is that subsidy might fall back to them. And if Enugu State is actually paying subsidy for electricity, that will not be a good one for the government, because it will have eroded what they need to use to build other infrastructure. But with what he's saying now, it's as if they have done their research. But I've seen the minister or one of these people saying that they are not ready to pay any subsidy. The Enugu must face the music if they start the reduction itself. So
but even at 209, is subsidy not still paid for Band A?
Band A, I'm not sure there is subsidy for Band A. So, but I'm not sure.
Because
recall that they are even trying to increase all others.
And I think they're even trying to increase even the Band A.
Right. So this government is actually saying no subsidy is paid. So until they come out clean about if they actually pay. But for me, I don't think they are paying, especially for Band A. Okay.
All right. So first of all, this amendment bill now, I don't know if you've read the particulars of the bill itself and what you think is going to happen. Now, the last time this bill was done was in 2023, and this is just 2 years after another one now.
That is the beauty of having a National Assembly that's responsive. We pray they will...
So this is a good move?
Yes. When you bring a bill, it's subject to amendment. And that's why it's good to bring the bill. That's why we always talk about state police and other ones. Bring it first.
Okay.
Let us start it. By the time we start it, we now say, okay, this government are usurping, these governors are usurping much more power. Let's amend. So you now keep amending. So when you bring the bill, look at tax reform. Some people have raised concern on it already now. What sector? Was it manufacturers?
Manufacturer. I think
they have raised concern already, but it's good. It has been passed. You can now bring about your, amendment. Then we'll keep amending, to suit. It's not a perfect...
Till everybody's
exactly
captured.
Till the right thing is done. And will the right thing be done? Things will kept changing. Just like before, we are looking at ICT, right? Information is so. But now it has broken. We now health tech, information tech. Everything is breaking. So the world will keep moving like that, and you keep amending to meet up those things. So I think it's a good one that we have even unbundled that area. But I've not seen states or region coming together and said, let us have our own generation, companies. That's what we need. I saw the Adeleke coming up with 1,250 generating power generation company, which is laudable, and that can serve maybe 3 states. I'm sure Dangote, by the time he has a good footage, his own company too in Lagos, that refinery can also serve like 2 states. So if we keep on doing like that, so I saw us, then what Enugu is doing, I think Nigeria is also looking at that.
Yes, from the information here,
right.
Lagos, Ogun, Plateau, Ondo, Ekiti, some states are thinking of going in the route of Enugu.
So, and that's why, honestly, if you ask me which of the governor is doing well now, I would like to choose it. Though the state are saying the tax is the problem, but these people are thinking. And that's why you bring a businessman who have the understanding of the working of business, will always do more in terms of delivery. That's what we are seeing from Mba.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us this morning on the program. Your
me.
Insights are always very good to have. That was Dr.Aliyu Ilias talking to us on quite a number of issues. We talked about the MPR, the GDP Rebasing, and the Electricity Amendment Bill, and of course what's happening in Enugu, and how does it affect you. So in case this bill is passed, the PCAF is something big, and cost of electricity might go up again. So brace yourself, get ready, and see what's happening there. That's the much we have for you this morning on Business Daily. For more of our programs, documentaries, and news, do all to stay with us or follow us on our social media and on our YouTube live stream. The news will be coming up in a few minutes. I've been your host this morning, Chiamaka Nwafor. Bye for now.